Manchester is a big city. It's full of life and has lots of shiny new buildings and outdoor spaces for residents and tourists to enjoy. It made its money mostly during the 18th and 19th centuries, when it was known as Cottonopolis, so there are lots of huge and ornate warehouses and trading buildings around. But I'm here for the medieval bits. Manchester existed in medieval times as a small market town with a manor, parish church, farms and housing. Sadly, Manchester was bombed really heavily during World War II, so most of its very old buildings are gone. But there is a lovely medieval quarter, so naturally that's where I ended up. The first day I was there was a glorious sunny day. It was a bank holiday, so there were loads of people around enjoying their awesome city. Walking towards the medieval quarter, it's amazing to see the old buildings dwarfed by so many high-rise buildings. Even the large warehouses from the heady trading days weren't more than a few stories high, but the CBD today has a good smattering of very tall buildings. In the area known rather uncomfortably as Hanging Ditch, no prizes for guessing what used to happen there are two old pubs, both of which were dismantled and moved 300 metres to their present site. They survived both World War II bombings and an IRA bomb in the 90s and were fixed up and reinforced when they were moved. The old Wellington Inn was built in the 1550s and is gorgeous inside and out. The top floor has a bit of an obstacle course. You have to duck under two very low but padded beams. Next door is Sinclair's Oyster Bar, which is an 18th century pub. Also lovely and atmospheric, but is always going to lose out a bit when compared to a Tudor building, I suppose. Behind the pubs is the Manchester Cathedral. It's thought there was a church on the site way back in the 7th century, which was destroyed by Danes and rebuilt by King Edward the Elder in the 10th century. Edward is Alfred the Great's son and brother to my hero Ethelfled, Lady of the Mercians. This church is also mentioned in the Domesday Book, compiled in 1086. The church that we see today began to be built in 1215 by the Grislett family. Passing through various hands, the 15th warden of the church was James Stanley II, stepson to Lady Margaret Beaufort, Henry VII's mum, and the grandmother of Henry VIII. It was Lady Margaret who commissioned the Minstrel Angels, ordering them to be placed in the nave, the public part of the church, rather than in the chancel where the common folk wouldn't have been able to see them. And while I wouldn't exactly call her a hero of mine, I think she's a really interesting character, and it was a surprise and delight to find this tangible connection to her that I wasn't really expecting. The angels are all playing instruments that would have been used at the time, wind instruments on the north side and strings on the south. There's another angel in the church that I liked a lot too, the angel stone, which was made in the 11th or 12th century and found during excavation of the south porch in 1871. It's small and unassuming, but I appreciate that it's been rescued, cared for and displayed in the church. There are two beautifully carved wooden screens, which miraculously survived the wartime bombing and the attentions of the parliamentarians in the 17th century Civil War. The stained glass sadly did not survive the bombs, and the windows are all modern. Not medieval, but still beautiful. The fire window in particular caught my attention. It's a monument to the bombings, and it looks a lot like a terrible fire is raging outside. This makes it a good commemoration, as it's unsettling and scary, which feels fitting for what the people of Manchester had to endure. Next door to the cathedral, and associated with it throughout the centuries, is Chetham's library. This is part of the School of Music, so can only be accessed with a guided tour. This impacted my ability to film, but it was super interesting and highly recommended to do. The building the library is in was built in 1421 as a college for priests, and looks exactly as lovely as you would expect. The library itself was founded in 1653 by wealthy textile merchant Humphrey Chetham, and is billed as the oldest public library in the English-speaking world. The buildings connected with the library have had lots of roles to play over the years, and there's a series of rooms off the cloisters, some of which have cat flaps in the doors, a symptom of the rather large rat problem. The library was originally chained, Books used to be so valuable they were literally chained to the shelves and had to be read no further than the chain's length away. Later, the shelves were extended upwards, making the chains obsolete, so the books went behind gates and were read in the reading room instead of amongst the shelves. This reading room has an alcove where Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels studied together in 1845. There's also a lot of connections in the library to Dr John Dee, who is a fascinating character, and I'll link more information about him in the description. So, good old Manchester, bringing a strong medieval game, quality if not quantity. I appreciate how the old and new sit so well together and that all of these buildings are in daily use by the people, loved and cared for and still being useful, which is what they were built to be.